In this video, I'm gonna show you how to fix your MacBook that doesn't charge at all. 2 years back, I made a video on how to fix your MacBook that wouldn't turn on, and that video got me more than 1 million views. So I've decided to upload a different video showing you how to fix your MacBook if it doesn't charge. And we're starting right now. Hey, my name is Shaq, and my goal in this channel is to help you fixing tech-related issues without spending a lot of money. So if you're into tech content, consider subscribing to the channel. In this video, I'll show you how to fix your MacBook that doesn't charge at all, which is a pretty simple process that you need to follow, but you need to be very careful and make sure you do not skip any step in the middle of the process. Otherwise, you might miss very important information, okay? Do not worry, because this tutorial works on any MacBook model, whether you've got a MacBook Pro, a MacBook Air, an older or a newer MacBook version. And if you've got any doubt or question, do not hesitate to leave a comment down in the comment section below so that I can help you fixing the problem. Without any further ado, let's jump straight into the tutorial. So here we are. On my left, I've got in here a MacBook Air 2014, and on my right, I've got in here a MacBook Air M1 2020. So do not worry, this tutorial will work on old MacBooks as well as new MacBook models. It doesn't matter whether you've got a MacBook Air or a Pro model, this tutorial is going to help you fixing the problem. So the very first thing we're going to do in here is actually double check our chargers, okay, to see if they're working fine and that the problem is not in our charger. On older MacBook devices, you're going to be able to see a green or an orange LED light turn on as soon as you connect your charger into your MacBook. So if you do not see a light turning on over there, make sure you try replacing your charger first to see if it turns on the light with the new charger, or try connecting the same charger into a different MacBook to see if that charger works with a different MacBook. Now, on much newer MacBook models, we do have USB Type-C ports in here, which unfortunately do not give us the option to see the LED light when we connect the charger into our USB Type-C port. As you can see, we do not have here any LED light in here, so it turns things a little bit more difficult to diagnose, but do not worry because we'll diagnose it in this video. So if the first port doesn't work for you, also try connecting the same charger into the second USB Type-C port in here and see if it starts charging. If it doesn't charge, consider changing your charging socket first, and then if it doesn't work, try changing your USB Type-C cable as well. Usually on these chargers, the socket is the one that gets damaged first. That's why I would recommend you guys in double checking your socket. Also try removing this connector right here and try to smell in here to see if you've got a burnt smell. If it smells like burnt, then the problem might be on your socket because it might had a short circuit with some electricity cut problem or something like that. Now, if changing your charger didn't solve the problem that you've got, do not worry, we're moving into step number 2, where we need to double check our charging port. So in this step, on older MacBook versions, as you guys can see, this is my charging port right here. And it's very important for us to make sure that we actually clean it a little bit, okay? This might also be the cause of your MacBook not charging. So we're gonna need a toothpick or anything which is made of wood. In my case, I don't have a toothpick in here, but I've got this small stick in here made of wood that I can easily use to clean in order to remove all the dust that I've got in here. Simply use this technique to remove as much dirt as you can from the charging port, okay? Make sure you're using a wood made material, and you want to make sure you're not using any metal or any material that actually conducts electricity, okay? So as soon as you're done cleaning the charging port on older MacBooks, try connecting the charger back and see if your MacBook starts charging. On newer MacBook versions like the M1 model in here, as you guys can see, we've got in here 2 USB Type-C ports in here, and all you want to do is just double check with a flashlight, okay? So just take your phone, turn on your flashlight in here to see clearly inside if there is any burnt connector in there. So you want to search for dark areas. As you guys can see, we've got two white strips in here, so make sure that you do not have any dark part over there. If you see a dark part or something strange that illustrates that it has been burnt, that means that your charging port might have been damaged, and you need to follow the steps all the way to the end in order to know how to replace your charging port. Now, if cleaning your charging port didn't help fixing the problem, we're moving into the next step, where if you still have some charge left on your MacBook, simply turn off your MacBook first, okay? Simply shut it down, close all the applications, and then turn it fully off. So once your MacBook is completely turned off, you want to connect your charger while it's turned off. In some cases, your computer might have 0% left of charge. If it's 0% left, it's obviously already turned off. So you just need to follow from this step onward. So over here, let's connect our charger right here. My charger is already connected. In your case, if it doesn't light up a color over there, do not worry, just follow these steps with the charger connected right there. So over here, you're going to press and hold the left shift button, the option button right here, the control button right here on the left, along with the power button here on the top. So you're going to press all these 4 buttons together for 10 seconds. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and 9, and 10. And then you're going to immediately release all those buttons, and then you're going to press the power button again to try turning your MacBook on. Okay, so if it doesn't turn on, press it for 3 more times, the power button alone. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and on much recent MacBooks which have the Type-C charging port, the process is exactly the same. The first thing you're gonna do is basically connect your USB Type-C charger. And then once it's connected, you're gonna turn off your MacBook, okay? So once your MacBook is completely turned off, you're gonna perform the same steps. You're gonna press and hold the shift button on the left, the control and the option key right here, and then you're gonna press the power button here for 10 seconds. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and 9, 10. You're gonna release all the buttons, and then you're gonna press the power button again once, twice, and for the last time. If this helps fixing the problem, good. If it doesn't help fixing the problem, we're moving into the next step. We're gonna connect the same charger to the second USB-C type port, okay? So simply disconnect from the first type port and then connect it on the second USB-C type port and repeat the same process. Now, if this doesn't fix the problem that you've got, we're moving into the next step, which is gonna be a step where you need to be a little bit more delicate. On this step, we're gonna need a set of screwdrivers right here that are gonna help us opening our MacBook in order to perform a few simple steps inside of the computer in order to help us fixing the problem. Do not worry, these are very easy steps, and I would recommend you guys to do it first to see if you can fix your MacBook before spending a lot of money at an Apple repair store, okay? So you can actually buy the screwdrivers by tapping in the link in the description box below. These are really cheap screwdrivers that are gonna help you fixing this problem. The next thing we're gonna do, once you already have the set of screwdrivers, we need to close our computer and make sure it's turned off. This is a very important step, okay? And then we're gonna flip our MacBook upside down. So once our MacBook is upside down, as you can see, we've got in here screws right here. So we need to remove all these screws from our MacBook, okay? So most of the MacBooks, 95% of the MacBooks in here, they have P5 pentalobe screwdriver, which is also included in the set, which is in the description down below. The other screwdrivers are gonna be useful inside our computer, okay? So over here, we're gonna use the P5 in order to remove all the screws. Simply unscrew each of them and make sure you store them in a very safe place so you do not lose the screws, okay? Normally these two screws here on top are the longer ones, which are different in terms of length, so make sure you keep them aside so you do not actually mismatch when reattaching the screws into your laptop. Once the screws are removed, you're gonna gently pull up the panel. Please be very gentle, because in a few MacBooks we've got a few connectors here on the panel which connect to the motherboard. So you need to be very gentle, that in case you've got here anything connecting, you want to gently disconnect it from here in order to avoid ripping cables that might be attached to the back panel. So once you remove the back panel, simply keep it aside, okay, and then we're moving to the next step. So here is how the interior of my MacBook looks like, and as you guys can see, over here we've got the motherboard, okay, and then over here we've got our battery, okay. This layout won't change. All MacBook models have their battery here in the bottom. As you guys can see, these are the battery cells, and you need to find out where it connects to your motherboard. In most cases, it's here on the left. In my case, this is the connector to my motherboard. This is the battery connector to my motherboard. In a few MacBooks, it might be located in a different location. Do not worry, simply leave a comment down below in the comment section if you've got a doubt, or reach out to me on Instagram. I've got my Instagram page down below so I can help guiding you if you have any doubt. So all we need to do here is simply disconnect the battery connector from the motherboard. As I've said, this one is the battery connector, so we're gonna disconnect it, and this is how it's gonna look like when disconnected. As you guys can see, it's now disconnected, okay. Now on some MacBooks, instead of disconnecting by pulling it up, you might need to pull it down, like it's a connector that goes like this and not upwards, okay. In this case it's upward, but in some of them you need to plug it like this by pushing it further to the front, okay. So we're gonna keep it like this, disconnected, and then we're gonna reattach the back panel into our MacBook without screwing back these screws, okay. So keeping it this way, being gentle, we're gonna flip it back again without attaching the screws back on. We're gonna open our MacBook, and then we're gonna next up connect our charger into our computer. So once we've connected the charger into our computer, we're gonna repeat the step number 3, where we're gonna press the shift on the left, we're gonna press the option button and the control button along with the power button here on the right. So we're gonna press all these buttons simultaneously for 10 seconds, okay. So it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We're gonna release the buttons. We're gonna press the power button 3 times, 1, 2, and then 3. Once this is done, we're gonna close our MacBook. We're gonna remove our charger from our MacBook. We're gonna flip back our MacBook. We're gonna open back our MacBook, and then we'll simply reconnect the battery connector here by simply pressing it down. Now, once we've reconnected our battery connector here into our motherboard, we're simply gonna close the back panel, and then we're gonna simply flip our MacBook, and we're gonna try charging our MacBook. Now, if after 15 minutes your MacBook still doesn't charge, we're moving into the last step. And on this last step, you're gonna need a PCB cleaner, which is a liquid which is made up of isopropyl alcohol used to clean circuit board components inside of electronic devices, okay. So this is something that you can actually also buy from the link in the description box below. So let's quickly reopen our MacBook once again, and then in here we're gonna search for the I/O board, okay. I/O board is normally located here on your charging port, okay. So in my MacBook it's located over here, and if you've got a much recent MacBook version, simply search for the Type-C charging port, which is normally here on the left of the MacBook. Okay, so once you find it, then over here we're gonna remove this small board right here, which is known as the IO board, which stands for input and output board. So this board is the intermediate communicator between the motherboard and the charger and other input and output devices. So when the charger connects into your computer, this one is responsible to send data to the motherboard. So what we're going to be doing in here is remove the IO board and clean it properly, and then reattach it down here to see if it starts charging, because most charging problems are caused here by the IO board. So the first thing we need to do before performing any single step in here, we need to disconnect our battery again from the connector. Okay, so this is the most important step because you want to make sure you don't cause any circuit electronic shock in here. So lifting it up or lifting it down, you'll be able to disconnect your battery connector from your MacBook. And once that's done, we're gonna move into the next step. So here the next step is going to be to disconnect this cable right here, which is the cable that connects the IO board to the motherboard. It simply needs to be lifted up, okay, from this side, and then from the other side again, and then from the other side again, and then from the other side again, and it's going to come out. The same thing we're going to do here on the other side. Okay, simply use your nail to lift it up from the both sides, and then it's gonna immediately come out. And this is the cable. Okay, I would also recommend you guys to double check if this cable is actually looking good, if it has a good look. Okay, because in some cases you might see that the cable might be damaged somewhere. This might mean that this might be your problem. So once you disconnect this cable that connects the IO board to the motherboard, we're gonna clean this cable. As you guys can see, this is pretty much dirty, so let's clean it real quick. Let's clean it with the isopropyl alcohol. So here we go, we've got the isopropyl. So let's move our laptop a little bit to the left. Here we go, we've got the isopropyl PCB cleaner. We're gonna need a soft toothbrush like this one right here, where we're gonna spray a lot of PCB alcohol solution in here. So once we've sprayed, we are then going to wash this with this toothbrush like this. Okay, do not worry, this liquid won't damage your components because this is made for this type of components. Okay, so once you're done cleaning your cable, we're gonna leave it aside drying. Okay, you want to make sure it dries for 5 minutes. Okay, so let's keep it aside. Now once it's dry, reconnect it back into your computer and see if it works. If your computer still doesn't work, do not worry, simply move into the next step that I'll be showing it to you right now. The next step is to actually remove our fan right here because we want to disconnect the IO board. So the first thing we're going to do is actually remove this little sticker right here by simply peeling it off. Do not worry with the glue, it gets back to it with the temperature of the MacBook. The next thing we're going to do is to actually disconnect this cable or wire right here. In order to disconnect this thing from here, we're gonna need to use any simple screwdriver that we've got, but you need to be very gentle and make sure that your battery connector is disconnected from your motherboard. What we're gonna do is easily and gently, we're gonna pull it back from both sides, slowly like this. A little bit from the right, and then a little bit from the left, little bit from the right, and then a little bit from the left, little bit from the right, a little from the left, right, and then boom, here we go. It's now out. You need to be very gentle because these are really sensitive cable. So once this one is disconnected from your computer, we're gonna simply pull it a little bit back, slowly, so that it disconnects as it has glue attached on it. Now, the next thing in here is to actually remove this little rubber component that we've got in here by simply peeling it off with our hand. Okay, it's pretty easy. Do not worry if you want to repeat as many times as you want the steps. Do it, be free. Okay, don't rush with the process. So this, we're gonna keep it aside like this, and then the next thing we're gonna do is actually remove this screw right here, and then we're gonna remove this screw right here, and then we're gonna remove these two screws that are right here. In my case, my MacBook, I actually lost these two screws because I've been opening my MacBook many times here on the channel, so I don't have these two. But if you have, just remove both of them. Okay, so it's one right here. We're gonna unscrew this one, we're gonna keep it aside, and then two right here, we're gonna unscrew it gently, we're gonna keep it aside, and then we're gonna remove these two right here. In my case, I don't have them, so once you're done removing them, simply try to shake it a little bit to see if it's loose. Now that we're sure that it's loose, don't pull it up. We need to disconnect this cable right here from the motherboard. So this is the cable that connects the fan into our motherboard. So we're gonna pull it up from here easily. Boom, it's done. It's now up, and easily we're gonna remove the fan from here by pulling it up and then pulling the cable back gently, slowly, and boom, here we go. It's now out. It has been successfully removed without damaging. Please be very careful because these are sensitive cables. Now we've got our fan out, we've got a cable out, and the next thing we need to do is to basically disconnect the battery from our computer. Do not worry, do not panic. I know we're doing a lot of steps, but these are pretty easy steps to be performed right here. Now, in order to disconnect your battery, you're gonna be having like 5 screws. One will be located right here. The other one will be located right here on the top left corner. Right here. And then the other one will be located down here. And then the other one will be located here on the right. And then the other one will be down here on the right. Okay, so these are the 4 locations where you have screws to be removed from your battery. But in my case, I only have 1 screw in here because I've lost a few screws by opening my MacBook here on the channel 5 to 10 times. So in here, you're gonna need a different screwdriver. So now we're gonna select from your set of screwdrivers that you've got. You're gonna remove these screws here accordingly. So in my case, here I've got an X screw. So I'm gonna remove the X screw from here, okay, by simply unscrewing it left, and left. It's now here, it's out. I'm gonna keep my screw from the battery aside. Okay, now please keep the screws in a separate position so you do not forget where you actually found the screw and where you actually stored it, because the screws have different lengths in here. Once you're done removing all the screws, you're gonna simply and gently lift up your battery slowly from both of the sides, okay, because you want to make sure that you don't damage anything. So slowly, boom, here we go. We're gonna lift it up and we're gonna keep our battery aside. So once we're done disconnecting our battery from our MacBook, this is how our MacBook is going to look like. Do not worry, we're actually solving the problem that we've got in here, so don't worry. The next thing we're going to do is disconnect this cable from here. This is the cable that connects the I/O board. It's pretty much one of the last steps that we need to do. So in order to disconnect this one, we're going to be very gentle. Okay, we're going to use a screwdriver to gently from the corner disconnect it slowly from the sides, a little bit from the right, and then a little bit from the left, and then a little bit from the right, a little bit from the left, from the corners please, a little bit from the right, a little bit from the left, and then it will automatically come out. Okay, this is how it's gonna come out. And then here you might be having a little bit of glue sticking on this little tape in here. Simply pull it up, it will eventually come out. Okay, and then the next step in here is to disconnect this little cable right here, which is the cable that connects ourselves to the speakers. In order to disconnect this one, it's pretty easy. You just need to lift it up from the bottom, okay, and I would recommend you to use a really slim screwdriver right here. Okay, so lifted it up, here we go. It's now disconnected from the IO board, and now that it's disconnected, the last connection that we need to disconnect is this one right here. Okay, as you guys can see, we've got a, let me just move this, we've got a black tape in here. Okay, we need to disconnect this one as well. And in order to disconnect this one, it's very easy. The first thing we need to do is to basically move a little bit this tape, okay, and then we need to pull this little connector here up. Okay, so this is how it goes. Let me just change my hands. You're gonna pull it up, boom, it's done, it's now up. And then by holding this little tape in here, we're gonna pull the cable out. Okay, please be gentle, do it slowly, and here we go, it's now out. Okay, this is it, pretty easy. And then the last step in here, we're gonna use a Torx screwdriver, which is a different one. Okay, you're gonna search from your screwdriver set which one goes into which screw. Okay, now we're gonna remove this screw right here, and then this screw right here on top. In my case, I don't have this one anymore, I've lost it, but I'll remove this one from here. Okay, so we're gonna unscrew the screw from here, and then we're gonna keep the screw on a safe side. Okay, and then you're gonna remove this little speaker wire from this IO board right here. Okay, so you're gonna push it right, and then you can easily remove it from this little hole in here. Okay, so once it's out of the hole, we'll now easily pull our IO board upwards like this. Okay, this is how it comes out, and here we go, pull it up, and our IO board is now out and safe. Now that we've got our IO board out and safe, we're gonna clean with the PCB cleaner by performing the same step that we used to clean the cable, remember? So this is how it looks. As you guys can see, my IO board is pretty dirty, especially here in the charging port, and this is something we really need to clean in order to double check if the problem is in your IO board. Now, in order to clean our IO board, let's remove my MacBook from here so we can stay exactly only with the IO board. Okay, let me keep my MacBook aside. Here we go, here's the IO board. So what we're gonna do is pretty simple. We're gonna need our really soft toothbrush, and make sure that it's a new toothbrush so that it doesn't bring any dirt to your equipment. So first step is to actually spray as much of PCB cleaner into the toothbrush. A few PCB cleaners don't come with the spray option. Do not worry, you can easily put it inside of the bottle, and then it's gonna have the liquid, and then you're gonna wash it normally like this with the PCB cleaner. Here we go. Okay, as you can see, dust is coming out, a lot of dust actually. This is a good time for you to clean your computer components, and with this liquid right here. Okay, so we're gonna clean it, especially here on the charging port, and here we go. We'll also clean the connection right here. Okay, so you want to make sure you clean it very gently, and that's the reason why we need a really soft toothbrush. Okay, slowly, and then we're gonna let it dry for 5 to 10 minutes. This one we're gonna leave for 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, let's go. Let's keep it trying. So after waiting 15 minutes and making sure that your IO board is now completely dry, we're gonna reconnect our IO board into our MacBook device. And as you guys can see, give a look at the toothbrush, it's very dirty. This is because the IO board was actually very dirty, and this cleaning process was actually necessary to be taken in here. So let's move into the steps in order to reattach the IO board into our MacBook. So please be very careful and aware with your screws, because you don't want to lose screws just like I did here on my MacBook. Okay, so the next step is to reattach the board in here. Okay, so this is how it actually stays. We're gonna pull up every cables and gently reapply it here like this. Okay, it needs to be like this, and then slowly we're gonna put it down. Here we go. Our board is now here attached to the main case of the laptop, and then we're gonna screw in here this screw right here. Screw. Okay, here we go. It's now screwed back. We've got in here another point where we need to screw a screw, but I don't have, as I've told you. So let's move into the next step, which is to actually put back on this little cable right here. So this cable needs to first go inside this little hole in here. Boom, it's done. And now we're gonna simply attach it back on here by simply pressing it down. Okay, here we go. It's now on. Now if you find some difficulties reconnecting it back, you might be connecting it the wrong way, so simply try flipping it back and connect it on the other way around. Okay, so once this is done, the next step is to actually connect here our main connector to our IO board in here on the left side right here. So we're gonna connect it back on, being very gentle with 2 nails. It's now in. Okay, let me just push it a little bit more. Boom, it's now fully in. Now once this is done, so the next step is to connect this cable into this connector right here. Pretty easy. Simply hold it from here, and then you're gonna gently connect it here into the connector. And once it's in, we're gonna simply press this little thing in here in order to close it. Okay, now this is done. This is reconnected. The next step here is now to connect the battery. Okay, let's connect our battery back. Let's attach our battery back into our main laptop in here. Right here, the connection process is pretty easy. Make sure you hold it like this with 2 hands. Okay, and then you're gonna simply reattach it here into the board and then let it go down. Now do not connect it on the motherboard yet. Please simply screw or attach all the screws that your battery has. Okay, and now it has been screwed back in. Now the next step is to attach our fan back on. As you guys remember, let's simply put it back. Okay, it also has magnets, so it will automatically push it to connect it. Now once it's connected, we're gonna first of all screw these 4 screw points right here, which is 1, 2, 3, and 4. In my case, I only have 2. As I already told you guys, I've lost screws. Okay, so let me quickly screw them back on with my Torx driver, which is the one for this type of screw that I have on my MacBook in here. Here also, let me screw back it on, and now it's done. Now the next step is to connect this cable right here, this little cable, into this connector right here, and then we're gonna press it down to close the connector. Okay, pretty easy, pretty simple. Boom, it's now in. Slowly. connector here to reconnect the cable. Now that this is done, the next step is to reconnect this last one in here, which we simply connect it from here, and then we slowly push it from the sides. Okay, let's go 1, 2, left and right. Boom, here we go, it's now on. And then we're gonna stick it here, gonna press it here just to stick it a little bit more here on these connections where it had glue. Okay, so this is how it goes. And then let's not forget about this little rubber that was attached here on the top right corner. This is how it goes. Yes, so we're gonna do something like this, and here we go, it's now attached to the right position. We're almost done. As you guys can see, we've reconnected a lot of our components back. Let's finish this process by first of all applying this little protection back in here, okay, which stays here on the top right here like this. Do not worry, it won't stick very well, but once your computer starts working, it will be well connected and sticked. Now the last step is to reconnect our cable, the one that we first removed in here, which is this one. Okay, please be very careful, do not apply a lot of force in here. Okay, so here we go, it's connected here on the left, on the right as well. It's well connected, simply double check it if it's well connected. Now once all this is done, we need to reconnect our battery connector right here. Okay, simply reconnect your battery connector, and then we're going to reattach the back panel into our laptop. And before we attach back the screws, we're going to try turning it on to see if it's charging or working. Okay, and then once you double checked if it's working, we're going to screw back on all the screws that we've removed from the laptop. Now if it's not working, you'll need to change your I/O board, and in order to change your I/O board, you can actually buy it from the link in the description box below. It depends on your MacBook version. If you've got a different model than mine or something like that, just leave a comment down below and I'll help you finding the right place to get your MacBook I/O board. This entire tutorial has shown you how to change your I/O board. As you have watched the video, we removed the I/O board and we reconnected it. So in case you buy a new I/O board, the process is exactly the same. All you need to do is just at the end of the tutorial, simply reattach the new I/O board into your device instead of attaching the old I/O board. Okay, so this was it for today, guys. Thank you so much for making it till the end of the video, and if you find my content useful here on YouTube, consider subscribing to the channel, leave a comment down below, and like my content here on YouTube so that I can be recommended to more people, so that I can help more people facing the same problem as yours. Thank you for watching Fixed by Shaq, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.